Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we wrap up another week. Glad to have you. The Dems are at it again. House Democrat leaders are floating the idea of removing President Donald Trump from office using the 25th Amendment. We have the details for you. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani is facing backlash online after admitting that his campaign pledge to make city buses free is hitting funding roadblocks. Imagine this. Surprise, surprise. A South Carolina woman is guilty of stealing pension benefits mistakenly intended for a dead relative for months, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott joins us today in response to the South Carolina General Assembly's proposal on school choice and other legislative updates in these final weeks of the session. It's a busy one. Let's jump right in.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So here we go again. Democrats talking about invoking the 25th Amendment. It's reemerging among House Democrat leadership after more than a year of dismissing speculation that they would seek to remove Trump from power for a third time. So rather than quash the discussion, House Democrat leadership appears to be encouraging it. Imagine that. This week, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries scheduled a briefing for today on the 25th Amendment for his caucus to be hosted by Representative Jamie Raskin and House Judiciary Committee Democrats. The announcement came after President Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran, with administration officials hailing the success of Operation Epic Fury. Now, Jeffries torched President Trump's threats issued earlier this week to wipe out Iran's civilization and unleash hell on Tehran. Here's what Jeffries said to a letter to his colleagues. Shockingly, Donald Trump threatened to escalate his war of choice in a profane Easter Sunday rant and to eradicate an entire civilization. He went on to write, "We will continue to unleash maximum pressure on Republicans to put patriotic duty over party loyalty and join Democrats in stopping this madness." Now, Mr. Jeffries has notably stopped short of calling for Trump's removal from power. Instead, he has pushed a resolution seeking to block the president's war powers in Iran, which was blocked by House Republicans last Thursday. Now, his willingness to entertain the discussion comes after dozens of his members called for Trump's impeachment or the invocation of the 25th Amendment following the president's escalating warnings against Iran if its leadership did not reopen the Strait of Hormuz by his deadline, which was on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Rashida Tlaib wrote on social media, "It's time to invoke the 25th Amendment. This maniac should be removed from office." Representative Robert Garcia saying he's out of control and his cabinet and those around him must be loyal to the Constitution and invoke the 25th Amendment. He must be removed. Now, do you recall either one of these people concerned about Joe Biden when he could barely put a sentence together? Did they ever call for fellow Democrats to, what did they say, protect the Constitution or remain loyal to the Constitution? and invoke the 25th Amendment with Joe Biden when it was very obvious that Joe Biden was not capable of running the country? Did you ever hear it? Did I miss it? If I missed it and you have a link to it, would you send that to me, please? Text me or email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Now, taking this approach is a much higher bar than impeachment and has never been used to involuntarily remove a sitting president. To be successful, Democrats would have to obtain buy-in from Republicans and the advisors closest to the president. In other words, his cabinet members or some of his cabinet members would have to be on board with this. Specifically, the vice president and a majority of the cabinet would have to agree that Donald Trump is unfit for office. In the event that Trump were to contest their assessment, 2/3 of the House and Senate would have to vote in support of that judgment. Now, you tell me the likelihood of this happening. Some Democrats have publicly admitted the 25th Amendment is likely to be a futile option. You think? At least they understand the odds of this happening. At least they understand that there's no way they're ever going to remove Donald Trump from office using the 25th Amendment. I don't think they'll ever impeach him either. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, the Democrat from Rhode Island, wrote on social media, "I'm getting a lot of traffic about the 25th Amendment after Trump's mad rants. The president is facing serious mental decline. I'm with you on that." Wow. They're just a bunch of clowns, aren't they? He went on to write, but unfortunately, invoking the 25th is not realistic right now, given his oddball cabinet of sycophants and eccentrics and Republican spines of foam. We're going to have to buckle down and win this the old-fashioned way. Again, I don't recall Senator Sheldon Whitehouse concerned about Joe Biden. Do you? Meanwhile, some interesting developments yesterday. First Lady Melania Trump, in a very surprise public announcement, denounced any, quote, lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein and called on Congress to hold a public hearing for his victims. The First Lady said in a brief statement at the White House, "I am not Epstein's victim." Fox's Jared Halpin at the White House.
First Lady Melania Trump says lies linking her to Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect.
The public statement from the White House was not expected, but was made, Mrs. Trump says, as her attorneys fight unfounded and baseless lies. She also says Congress must hold hearings with survivors.
Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes.
The House Oversight Committee has compelled testimony from several high-profile individuals as part of an investigation into Epstein. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Now, it's kind of unclear, or at least I couldn't find anything about it, why the First Lady chose to hold the press event at a time when the White House is actually trying to move on from the Epstein saga that's been dragging the president or has been following the president in his second term. It's like nobody can be satisfied with what is happening with the Jeffrey Epstein files. I mean, I'm not so sure that's not the reason Pam Bondi lost her job. President Trump has tried to distance himself from the case, accusing Democrats of digging up his old friendships with Epstein to hurt him politically, which we know that they are. The president and Epstein were friends until the mid-2000s. It's very well publicized. People know the story. The commander-in-chief has always denied he knew anything about Epstein's sex crimes. The First Lady's office pointed to her statement when asked why the announcement was today, as speculation swirled online that she was getting ahead of a looming news story. She declined to answer questions from reporters, including whether she will meet with the Epstein victims. Now, Mark Beckman, senior advisor to Melania Trump, said First Lady Melania Trump spoke out now because enough is enough. The lies must stop. It's time for the public and the media to focus on her incredible achievements as First Lady, the lives she has positively impacted, and her commitment to our nation. Melania Trump, as you know, was a model, was dating Donald Trump, the developer at the time, during his friendship with Epstein. She pushed back against a report from author Michael Wolff that the notorious pedophile introduced her to Donald Trump. She said Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. In her memoir, Trump said that she and the president met at a fashion party in the 1990s and were introduced by a mutual friend who was at the event. She criticized fake images and bogus stories that she said falsely claimed she was friends with Epstein or knew of his crimes. She said, I've never had any knowledge of Epstein's abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. Now, you probably know there's ongoing court litigation. Mr. Wolff countersued the First Lady after she threatened a $1 billion lawsuit against him for his reporting on her and Epstein. He was pushing to depose Melania in court, but the First Lady has been just as aggressive in her legal fights, winning retractions and apologies from the Daily Beast and James Carville, who reported on her and Epstein. We'll see. Well, maybe there's another story about to come. It was a little bit odd, though, that she made the statement yesterday.
GOP shots like Ozempic are everywhere right now, but here's the question. What happens when you stop? If you don't fix the reason your body gained weight in the first place, the weight comes back. Joey Hudson here at PhD Weight Loss. They don't just treat the weight as the problem. They treat it as a symptom of metabolic dysfunction, hormone imbalance, or inflammation. If you don't correct those, no shot or hack will ever last. PhD looks at you holistically to improve your health span, your energy, and your longevity, because losing weight is one thing, but keeping it off for life is another. Right now, when you call PhD Weight Loss and mention Joey Hudson, you'll receive 2 free weeks in the program, and they'll cover the cost of your food. That's real results with zero guesswork. Again, mention Joey Hudson when you call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Visit them online at myphdweightloss.com. Stop chasing weight. Start fixing what actually is causing it. Call today. Be sure and tell them Joey Hudson sent you. Get your 2 free weeks in the program. 864-644-1900.
If you're a student of politics like I am, I love to read anything about politics. I love to read about former elected officials, former presidents, former members of Congress. I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats. I just like to read their stories and how they got to into office. Or if you've ever run for office, you know this yourself personally. Campaign promises are easy to make when you're out on the campaign trail and you're trying to convince people to vote for you. It's real easy to say, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I promise you this. But a whole lot harder to keep them when you're elected and you have to deliver. And right now in New York City, we're watching that play out in real time, because one of the biggest promises from the newly minted New York City mayor, Zohran Mamdani, because he made a lot of promises. He's going to change New York City. Well, making city buses completely free, which is one of his mainstays, is now hitting a wall. It's a little bit harder than he thought. Not canceled, not abandoned, but suddenly not going to happen anytime soon, he says. And folks, that's where the political firestorm begins in Gotham City. So here's what happened. In a recent interview with Politico, Mayor Mamdani acknowledged something that raised a lot of eyebrows. That his plan to make New York City buses free, as one of his headline campaign promises, is facing some serious funding roadblocks, he said. Now, let's pause right here for a minute. Think about this. Who did he think was going to pay for this to begin with? How did he think that you could take a busing system the size of New York City's Metro Transit and make it free to begin with when it's been almost to the brink of bankruptcy a number of times over the years? Now, let's be clear. The mayor did not say it's dead. What he said is it's complicated. He's learning what the real meaning of leadership is, of running a city. He needs approval. He needs funding. He needs cooperation from Albany, the state capital, specifically from state lawmakers and the governor's office, including fellow Democrat Kathy Hochul. And suddenly, what sounded like a simple idea on the campaign trail is running into the reality of budgets, bureaucracy, and politics. Real life, Mayor. You are now faced with real life. Now, anybody with just a little bit of common sense, back when he was running and promising not only free buses, but remember he talked about having the city own all the grocery stores. And I mean, he just made some outlandish promises. Anybody with a shred of common sense knew you can't do that. It's not going to work. But boy, all those young people wanting a free handout, they flocked to the voting booths to elect this guy who has no experience whatsoever. Now they're going to have to live with the consequences. Now, you can imagine, as far as the backlash, didn't take long. Critics, especially on the right, jumped on this immediately. You had commentators, conservative voices, probably some other radio talk show hosts too, political operatives, all basically saying the same thing. This is what happens when campaign slogans meet the reality of governing. Some went even further, calling it misleading, unrealistic, even predictable. It's kind of like when you're running for student body president and you promise free Cokes in the water fountain. Sounded like a good idea, but how do you ever get Coca-Cola in a water fountain? Did you ever have someone in your school promise something like that? Look, this is where the broader debate kicks in. But because of critics, this isn't just about buses. It's about a governing philosophy. It's about real-life politics. So let's zoom out for a second. The idea of free buses sounds great to some. Who doesn't want lower cost, easier commutes, more accessible transportation? But the real question is, somebody's got to pay for it. So who is that? Who pays for it? Because in a city like New York, as I mentioned earlier, one of the largest transit systems in the world, free doesn't actually mean free. It means taxpayers. It means subsidies. It means shifting costs somewhere else. Because those bus drivers, they still want to be paid. They're not looking for a volunteer opportunity. Those buses need fuel. They need tires. They need oil changes. They need the daily maintenance that any piece of equipment needs. They need insurance. And that's where concerns start to grow, not just from political opponents, but from economists, budget analysts, and other New York City local leaders. Now, to be fair, and we always try to be fair, Mayor Mamdani isn't backing down. His office is making it clear this is still a goal. He's still striving to do this. The timeline may just shift a bit. The path may be a little complicated, but the commitment remains, he says. He's still going to try to do it. You think you'll ever hear about this again? You think maybe this is his way of saying, okay, maybe it was a little bit too aggressive to begin with, but I'm going to keep working on it. I'll get back to you. Don't call me, I'll call you. That kind of thing. He says by the end of his term, and it's a 4-year term, he still wants to deliver free buses across the city, and he points to something important, a pilot program he launched earlier in Queens. That program reportedly led to increased ridership, fewer assaults on bus drivers, and improved access for working-class residents. So from his perspective, this isn't just an idea. It's something he believes has already worked on a smaller scale, and he wants to try to make it work across the city. Again, we'll see. The topic, he's kind of gotten through this rough spot. His critics are on him. It'll pass over the weekend. He may never bring it back up again. But there's also something more interesting on this because, again, it's not just about buses. It's part of a much bigger agenda. We're talking about proposals like his city-owned grocery stores, rent freezes on privately owned properties, expanded public services. And that's where tensions are rising, especially between City Hall and the financial sector. Wall Street, business leaders, fiscal watchdogs are all raising their red flags and they're waving them. They're asking, can the city afford any of this? And if not, what happens next? Again, you get back to who pays for all of this. If you're going to have city-owned grocery stores, who pays for them? And what about the grocery stores that are owned by private industry who are competing? You know, he wants to wipe them out. He wants to commandeer the grocery stores and let the city run them. Now, what I guess the real takeaway here if there is one. It isn't the first time that we've seen a bold campaign promise run into real-world limitations once the elected official takes office and starts governing. It's not going to be the last either. I mean, right now, we're in the middle of the 2026 midterms, and you listen to some of the candidates, and you think, how can he do that? How can she promise that? Well, again, it's easy to do it on the campaign trail. It's just a little more difficult when you it's kind of like the dog catching the car or chasing the car. When they catch it, what do you do with it? Same thing here. Politicians love it. It sounds great out on the campaign trail. You know, I listen to candidates running for governor of South Carolina, and I'm gonna single this race out. You can apply it to any race. You can apply it to the U.S. Senate. We got 12 candidates running for Lindsey Graham's seat. 5 Republicans, 7 Democrats. Something like that. There's 12 people running. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But back to the governor's race. You hear all these candidates, and look, I know them all. I'm friends with a lot of them. But they're talking about, well, I'm going to clean up Columbia, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure that this happens. When in reality, the governor in South Carolina has very little power. We are a legislative state. And before just about anything happens in state government, the legislature's got to sign off on it, particularly when it comes to the purse strings. The legislature approves the budget. Yes, the governor submits his executive budget, but it's just sort of advice. The House Ways and Means Committee starts writing the budget. The House approves their budget. It's sent over to the Senate, and then they concur and send it to the governor's desk. And yes, I'm sure they look at his budget, at his submitted budget, but there's nothing says they have to use it, and in most cases they don't. So that's just sort of a real world example of how politicians they love to make promises out on the trail, but when they actually are in office, it's just a little bit harder to do it. Governing is different than campaigning. Campaigning is about vision. Governing is about real world math. And sometimes those two just don't line up very well. Here's one of those stories that, again, just kind of makes you shake your head and think, what in the thunder? We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, federal pension money this time, going out month after month to someone who, quite frankly, knew better. And now, after a year and a half, that bill is coming due. Here's the story. 71-year-old woman out of Columbia, South Carolina, Effie Mae Yeomans, has now pleaded guilty to stealing public money. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, this wasn't some complicated fraud scheme. No hacking, no identity theft ring. This was much simpler, very simple actually. A relative passed away, but the pension checks kept coming. Now here's where it crosses the line from mistake to crime. Instead of reporting it, instead of notifying the Savannah River nuclear site or the Department of Energy, investigators say Yeomans withdrew the money month after month, 18 months, at about $3,025 per month. That adds up to more than $54,000. And here's the key detail. This is what really matters. She knew it. She wasn't just anyone stumbling into unexpected deposits. She herself was a pension recipient from the same system. So she knew how the deposits looked on a bank statement. It's not like she misunderstood or overlooked something. She understood how it worked. She knew she wasn't entitled to that money. But yet, she kept it anyway. She probably spent it. Now, the reality is it's not just about one case in Columbia. This is about something bigger. It's about trust in this system. These pension programs, whether it's a federal pension program, a state, or a private pension program, to a degree, they depend on honesty. They depend on people doing the right thing when no one's looking. And when that breaks down, it's not just about, quote, free money. It's taxpayer money. It's private. In a lot of cases, it's private businesses' money. It's money meant for someone who earned it, who worked for it, who is no longer here. It's kind of like the case, and I've talked about this before, but it's like, and we're in Masters Week, and boy, has it not been just beautiful at Augusta National this week? Have you watched any of the Masters? But when you have Master tickets, and you know how rare those are, I mean, it is tough to get tickets to the Masters. And you can't even get on a waiting list now. At one time, you could be put on a waiting list, and in some cases, people waited years and years for the privilege of buying those tickets. You can't even do that anymore. But they have a system, and maybe we need to let the Masters manage some of these public pension funds, because when someone dies, they don't just keep sending out the invitation for the tickets. And I know that firsthand. A friend of mine's father-in-law passed away. I happened to be their power of attorney. For several years leading up to it, he was not in good health, and I helped him manage his financial affairs. Every January, when he'd get the invitation, I'd write the check for him and mail it to the Masters to get the tickets. Now, he wasn't able to go those final years of his life, but he enjoyed giving the tickets away to his family and friends. I was fortunate enough that he always allowed me to go. But he died in December. In January, I thought, well, I got the invitation for the tickets. I thought, I may get one more year of tickets. So I wrote the check. I sent it in with the invitation that he had received from his estate. And I got a phone call saying, we received this check, but we understand that Mr. X has passed away, and we'll not be able to send these tickets to his family. I mean, they knew it within a few weeks. So if the Masters can know when somebody dies, how does pension funds not know that as well? And how does this go on for this long? Now, eventually, officials at the Savannah River nuclear site, they did notice that something wasn't right. They realized that one of their retirees had passed away and that the payments had never stopped. That triggered an investigation. The Department of Energy, their Office of Inspector General, got involved, and that's when they traced the withdrawals right back to Ms. Yeomans. Now, she's pleaded guilty. A federal judge, Judge Joseph Anderson, has accepted that plea. Sentencing is still ahead. We don't know exactly what her fate is going to be. As part of the deal, she's agreed to pay the money back, so I hope she didn't spend it. But here's the reality. This isn't, again, it's not about paying it back. Because once you cross that line, once you knowingly take the money that's not yours, you're not fixing a mistake anymore. You're committing a crime. And whether it's $500 or $54,000 like this case, eventually it catches up. I just wonder in her process of thinking about this, how long did she think she would get by with this? At what point was she going to notify somebody that, hey, he's dead. He can't get the tickets anymore? Or was she ever going to? Did she think maybe that these checks would keep coming indefinitely and she'd keep cashing them? But I'd love to know her thought process there. How long did she think she could get away with this? And she knew it was wrong. She knew that she was taking money that she had no right to take. I mean, this is just a reminder. Integrity isn't tested when things are going right. It's tested when an opportunity shows up and nobody's watching. It's kind of like when you find that wallet in the parking lot full of cash. Nobody knows that it's you. Do you keep it, or do you post it on Facebook, or you take it to a store there? Do you try to find its rightful owner? It's times like these when the real decisions get made. And in this case, she made the wrong decision. Now the system has caught up with her. Accountability is here. What do you think is an appropriate sentence for her? Should she get jail time? In addition to having to pay the money back? Should there be more punishment than that? Would it be a deterrent to others? You just say, hey, look, you see what happened to Miss Yeoman? She ended up going to jail. She spent 5 years in jail. Yeah, appears she's going to pay the money back, but is that enough? Paying the money back, is that enough? Love to get your comments. Text me. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. Take advantage of all the great deals that Mike Lindell has for you. What's the appropriate punishment for this lady for taking this money? Let me hear from you.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Joining us on our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. I hope you are too. I hope everybody out there had a blessed Easter. I mean, it was great at the Evett home. We got to be together and relax a little bit and be thankful for where we are and the fact that we have a Savior that is so great.
Yep, we had a wonderful Easter as well, and now moving into Masters Week. Have you watched some of the practice rounds? I watched some of the par 3 yesterday.
I wish I could. I've kind of been out burning up the roads. We're 61 days away from the primary, so I've been a little busy, my friend. But I hope to get a little bit of it in, maybe over the weekend. Sit down in front of the TV and catch it. It is a beautiful week. They've had great weather, maybe a little chilly, but it's not raining and the sun is out. So congratulations to everybody who got Masters tickets.
I know it. That's for sure. I love watching the par 3, especially because, the players have their families out there, their kids are out there with them. And to see the kids, and some of those kids are pretty good golfers too, but just seeing them on that par 3 course, and there were like 3 or 4 hole-in-ones yesterday. So they're dialing it in down there.
Whew, I mean, I long for the day, Joey, when I ever get a hole-in-one.
You'll know about it.
You will know about it. You will probably hear me scream from wherever I am in the state to wherever you are.
Yep, me too. And they make it look so easy. I mean, they were expecting, going into the practice round yesterday, they were expecting multiple hole-in-ones, and they got them for sure. So, all right, let's talk about some things going on in the state legislature this week. Been some excitement down there. In the South Carolina Senate, there's a bit of confusion over our K-12 scholarship program. Initially, senators voted to cap the program at 10,000 students. The following day, they came back and changed it to 15,000. Now, the discussion centered around whether students being homeschooled should be allowed in the program. Some state senators do not believe they should. Give us your view on the program, and should homeschool students be involved?
Well, Joey, this is a hill I've always said I wouldn't move from, and I believe we need full universal school choice here in South Carolina. I've talked about it for as long as I've had a microphone to talk about it, and I believe that's any way a parent wants to educate their child, because they know best how their child will learn and be successful. And, over the years, I've always said that God has a special place in heaven for homeschool moms or dads. I mean, I don't want to seem like I'm alienating them, but that is a tough job. I mean, I just had a very little taste of it during COVID when Jackson was schooling from home. And I've been very impressed. Now, I have gone to the school choice rallies now for 7 years. And I have met homeschool parents and homeschool students who have been articulate, that spoke amazingly well at a podium in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. And what I have heard, over again, and there has been some statistics on this, again, I'm telling you what I've read, is that homeschool kids score very high, do very well in college. So why would we want to exclude that? If a parent is willing to commit their time and talents, and they are making the benchmarks that are outlined for them, because there are safety nets, those students get tested. Why would we want to punish a parent for choosing to homeschool if their child is thriving and doing a good job? I just don't think that's right. Full universal school choice, Joey, this gets rid of all this fine print, as I would say, and opens the door for everybody. And this is not a science experiment. To all the listeners out there who might go, well, are our kids going to be worse off? Are our kids in our rural communities going to be worse off? Look no further than other states that have done it. They've had the biggest leaps in educational success. Parents have taken to the ballot box anytime somebody has tried to take it away in those states.
Yeah.
And in rural areas that may have a failing school system, you'll get competition out there. If a charter school, if a parochial school sees that there's a failing district with no options and know that parents can make choices, they'll set up shop out there. So now you give parents an opportunity and children opportunity for a good education.
Yeah. While we're in the state capitol, let's just stay there, because there were a bit of finger pointing this week. And it was in reference to the $150 million or so cost overrun for the site work for Scout Motors. The Commerce Department is blaming the Department of Natural Resources for requiring things that were maybe a little outside of the original agreement. But the big question is, who is going to pay for the overruns, and should that be the state?
That is a great question for the General Assembly, because they have all the information on that. What I've read and what I have seen is that project was shut down for 5 months. It was shut down by the Corps. That Corps was then being overseen by the Biden administration. That 5-month shutdown cost a $70 million overrun to the project, which isn't shocking, which is why during my campaign, Joey, I've been talking about getting government away, out of business as much as you can.
Yeah. Because
that is exactly what happens. I've said it over and over again for 8 years. Time costs money and time kills deals. And when you shut down a project and everything is sitting there and the clock is ticking, that causes, big overruns. And so, this is something that, as I travel the state, you don't have, push that project aside. Look at every other project that, developers and builders were on. During the Biden administration, cost overruns were 10x because, his administration was so horrible. And everything that they touched became more and more expensive. And we felt that. You didn't have to be a builder or developer. We felt that in our own homes with just the price of energy. So bad leadership costs everybody.
Yeah.
The Biden leadership was horrible leadership, and from our own homes to businesses to developing to projects all across the country got skewed and out of whack because of those failed policies.
Yeah. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott, it's always a pleasure. Be safe, and we'll catch up again real soon.
Joey, can I brag on one thing before we hang up?
Go for it. Yes.
I hope everybody saw yesterday. It was something, the pro-life cause is something that's always been really important to me. And yesterday, I was honored to get the endorsement of Susan B. Anthony, a national pro-life championing group, and I was so really humbled to have that come my way. And so I just wanted to say to everybody who's been in this fight, Holly Gatling, Lisa Van Riper, for so long to make sure we're saving, the least of us.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for making me a part of it.
Well, congratulations on that for sure.
Well, Joey, have a great week. I look forward to talking to you next week.
Sure thing. Take care. Are you enjoying this great weather? Spring is finally here, and in the upstate, that means more than just warmer weather and greener grass. It means termite swarming season is officially here. Right now, termites are coming out by the thousands, looking for a new place to start a colony. The danger is that a lot of people mistake them for harmless flying ants. They ignore them, and by the time they realize the mistake, the damage to their home is already done. That's why Patriot Pest Management is offering free inspections right now. Just make sure your home is protected going into the swarming season. So if you're not sure, it's worth getting checked. Get the peace of mind you deserve from a team that stands behind their work. Call Patriot Pest Management today at 864-895-7299. That's 864-895-7299. Or you can request service online. Just simply go to their website, patriotpestmgt.com, and request that service today. Patriot Pest Management, they're the team I trust to keep my home safe. I hope you will too. Call them today, 864-895-7299, and request your free inspection. Patriot Pest Management, helping you stay a step ahead this spring. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.